started, I just want to share with you, there's several new people who are becoming covenant missionaries who've gone through the process. And I just wanted to make you aware of who they are so that in these next 30 days or so, either A, if you don't know them, that you would take a moment or be intentional about trying to get to introduce yourself and know them a little bit. Or if you have any questions or issues that you would like to have discussed before we finalize that process, that you can do that. So, in the following order, these people in 30 days we will then present to the larger congregation and pray blessing over them. But coming into our fold is Jim Blackwood, Scott and Debbie Knox, Stacy Luzon, Marlon Luna, Rob McNair, Gail Bastilli, and Sharon Slovins. So if any of you guys are here, I know that some are definitely not, but if any of you guys who are becoming covenant missionaries are here, if you would stand for just a moment, just in case. There's Marlon. All right. So we are excited. So just, kind of what I was saying, if, for example, Marlon or Stacy, if you don't know them, just introduce yourself before you leave here today and let them know how glad you are that they are becoming covenant missionaries. It's an exciting time at Grace, and we're so glad to have these folks taking this next step. Next, I want to have Cindy come. She's going to share with you a little bit about our budgeting process and some good news about our finances. We're in a new place, in a good place, and so she's going to share that with you.
Who put the first one up? I got some visual aids for us. Good morning, everyone. As that's being passed around, I'll start. As you know, in the beginning of this year, actually, as you know, last year, we had a struggle where we were at the point, about this time last year, we were deciding how we were going to keep the church going, if we were going to lay off some people, if we were going to, what were we going to do? We didn't know. So, finance committee came together, and it was decided that it was time to educate people and bring to the forefront that we're in this position, and that all you guys can help us get out of this position. So we made it more aware, a little more intentional, prayed about it a lot, and the results are very favorable and I'm looking forward to seeing what this year has for us. That's all I can really say. This year we decided to help us with our budget. We needed to know what we could expect to get in for 2014. That was the main part of the problem with a budget. We didn't know what we were going to get from year to year. We relied on faith, we relied on God, past experiences that helped us through it. We decided this year to ask you, do you intend to pledge? How much do you intend to pledge? We're not holding anyone to it. It's just to give us an idea of what we're working with. And as you can see up there, the results for the first time out for something like this is great. The covenant missionaries, we had 81% return from what we sent out, and that is really, really great. I really thank each and every one of you guys, those who are here, those who are not here, who can't be here. You really stepped up, you really put forth, you prayed about it, you thought about it, and it's going to help us go a long way. The active people who don't call Grace home yet, but are here and should call Grace home, at this point, I think, 43% of them returned. They're going to give something this year, and that's the gist of it. People are giving something. You're thinking about it, you're giving back to God, you're going to help us forward His kingdom, advance His kingdom in ways we don't even know yet. So that's, and people who are occasionally meet, people who are only here occasionally, we got 20% of those back, because they're here off and on. And new people, we got responses from new people, we got 11% back. So it's really great, we got 65% overall return, which for our first year of doing anything is great. Mike, can you do the next one? So what I put together to let you guys know what was happening is how we did from last year, which The blue is 2013, and you can see January, that was the scary month. That was the month that kind of woke us all up and decided, it's time to do something. And from there on, and it's steadily increasing to a point where, not quite there in 2013, we're still wondering, that's where we did the pledge letter for 2014. And what I did in yellow is the total amount we have pledged was $258,000. So I divided that by 12, and that's the number, that's the yellow bar you see. For 2014, so far, we're exceeding that. And that, again, praise God, bless you guys. It's great. It was wonderful to see. And I put this together. I had to double check it. I'm like, this is great, this is awesome. So with that in mind, we did say when we rolled out the pledge program that we were going to match the budget to what the pledges were. Seeing this trend already, just for 2 months that we're exceeding our pledge amount, we made a conscious decision to keep the budget relatively flat. We did just see the third page there. We made some adjustments for what the expenses were, and we had a better idea of what they were now. And we feel confident, and we're going to keep looking at it. This isn't it. We're going to take a look at this again in June to see if we need to make a little more adjustments, if the trend is even getting better, that we can adjust the budget up. So this is still a work in progress, but I just want to thank everyone for their help. There was no change to salaries or anything like that, so we don't have anything that was approved. So that's pretty much it. Do you have any questions? Okay.
So you base the budget off of the pledge?
Base the budget off of last year's, with the pledge in mind.
With the budget?
Yes, so we know, and we're still thinking about, like, if we do have to cut down, where can we do that? We're still thinking about it.
The first quarter last year was so incredibly tight that, like you said, Cindy, we didn't know what the pledges were going to be.
No, we didn't know what was going to
We
happen.
didn't know.
Yeah, this is
So,
first for us.
We were really wondering in January, February, if we would have to find ways to spend less, which is hard because this budget.
We're very tight budget.
Even without that
Yeah.
budget, this is a pretty tight budget.
You said that you're going to take another look at this in June, and even if we start to trend up, fiscally, we may adjust the budget up.
Yes.
I mean, me personally, I would just assume even if we are trending up, to keep it locked where it's at and ride the year out.
Exactly.
I just think it would give you a little bit of a cushion.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just my opinion.
Oh, no, I think that things like that, even after we're done here, if you think of something you want to email me, find me in the hallway, grab me, talk to me, call me, my cell phone, my number's out there. Anyone in the finance committee, Cindy Kelly, Leila, when she comes back and she's ready to get engaged again, and Paige Fisher, any one of us. If you have any questions for us, if you have any concerns, we're more than open to talk to anybody. Yes,
I have a question. I noticed that your special events for kids has been cut in half from last year. And I wanted to put it out there that last year we ran VBS and Mama Church of Christ funded it. We staffed it and we sent our kids to it and we didn't charge anybody anything. And this year we'd very much like to do a VBS. We're actually in talks about it. We've chosen a program. And $500 would probably kill that would be the whole budget for VBS, so that the Easter event that we're planning wouldn't be encompassed by that. So that I just wanted to put it out there that we're not going to ask Mama Church of Christ to fund our VBS again this year. So that's just a concern that I have. I know we didn't spend it last year, but that's because there was a spending freeze.
What are you looking to do then?
When? First week of August, I think.
so that falls in the line we're in June if we need to make adjustment for that. So we can, you're saying to keep it relatively flat so we can adjust for that. And in June we look at it again. So this isn't final.
Right.
So 99% there
I just
now.
wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, exactly. Anyone else? Yes, Ellen.
Where is there any income from the cooperative nursery on this, or is there any, because we made a change with that, so does that affect the income that the church might have?
That is being kept separate. And I was actually thinking about that this morning, that it's not part of the general fund, but the expenses you do see in here for that from 2013 were additional expenses to get what we had to do to get the nursery school off the ground. But after that, it's its own little entity.
She's asking about the.
Yeah.
So do we, at this point, do we have it?
We do. Yeah, and again, I'm sorry I don't have the exact numbers. I'll get those. Okay, I'll get those for you. It's not, this is just general fund. This isn't the whole church. It doesn't include all the ministries. It doesn't include like everything that we do. So this is just the operating expenses for the church.
The money that comes in from the nursery right now is based on how many square feet, loosely based on how many square feet they're using. And right now, it's not a heck of a lot of money right now, per month. So I don't think that there's a huge pile of money sitting in our account because of that. And over time, those numbers will
Yeah,
become
just
clearer.
so you know, with the nursery school, they added a room for April 1st. So they're growing. So like I said, I'll do a better job getting those numbers to you. And it's working out favorably for both, for them and for us. So they're thankful every day to be here. So they're really thankful to them being here.
Is that nursery school paying rent to us?
Yes.
So is everything all included?
Not in here. No, this is just general fund operating. I love rock. Yeah.
And you know, we should say to Ryan's point before, about giving us a cushion, that is something that's going to be part of this conversation this year with the budget, is how much of our emergency fund that we used up last year are we going to rebuild? Because we did dig into it. I don't remember what it was, ballpark, $20,000, 20, 30?
It was 10.
It was 10?
Yeah.
Okay. So we dug into it, and that is something we need to talk about, is how quickly we want to rebuild that.
Anything else? Thank you very much. And now I pass this over to Bill Lacey.
Cindy, I just want to say thank you before.
Oh, that's the other thing I wanted to say real quick. Every year in the fall, we do a fundraiser, thank you for reminding me, for our local mission partner, which is the Himalayan Evangelical Mission. So keep the fall, keep your eyes open. We haven't discussed what we're going to do yet this year. We might do something with the nursery school like we did last year, but not. It's just, do you think of any great fundraising ideas? There are always something.
We could do a bachelor auction and auction off Warren. I think we can make a lot of money off him.
No, thank you very much.
Great idea.
Now my turn up here is to talk about the size of our sanctuary and all sorts of peripheral ideas that have to do with that. And I feel like I'd like to just pause with us and pray before we get into this a little bit. No harm in that, right? Lord, we continue to beg your presence and your guidance over us, Lord God. We thank you for these problems that you've given us this season, Lord. Problems that have to deal with growth. We give you thanks, Lord. We ask you to guide us. We ask you to help keep us unified as we press into your will for this place. In Jesus' name we ask. Amen. Now, if you're in the room right now, you are a leader in this church. People listen to you, you're going to be more informed than the people that are not in this room right now. And as leaders in the church, before we get into this, I just want to do a reminder that as we talk about how to deal with our growing pains, because that's what these are. You know, the sanctuary is starting to really fill up on Sundays. These are growing pains. These are the good kinds of pains that we have. And we need to talk about our attitude as we go into these things. We are going to have our opinions. And we need to make sure that we don't mistake the decisions we make for moral decisions. These are not moral issues, whether we remove the back wall or we build that way or that way. These are not moral issues. These are opinion issues. These are issues that require wisdom and research and conversation. And we need to check ourselves as we go along. We need to ask ourselves, do we value the unity of this body over our personal opinion of what we should change. And we just need to keep all that before us, because what God is doing in our hearts and our minds and people that come here is so much more important than the physical structure. So these are growing pains. These are not moral dilemmas. This is not about right and wrong. We need to stay as unified as we can. And Vincent really recently taught me about this idea of the prayer of indifference, where when we want to get in touch with what God's will is on any subject, we've got to be willing to put our will aside, so that we are opening ourselves up for God to lead this way or that way, so that we can do what God wants instead of what our best idea is. And as we talk about this today, there hasn't been a decision made. Okay? I don't want anybody to think that. So the problem at hand is that our sanctuary is nearly full on a typical Sunday, and that as churches grow, it seems to be true that as you approach 100%, when you beat 80% capacity, when you approach 100% capacity, your growth rate, if it's a chart, your growth rate just kind of, because people start to sense that the place is full, and maybe there isn't a room for them. And I also just want to acknowledge, before we get into the different ideas, is that the problem of our capacity for this room is not the only problem with the capacity for Sunday morning. We also have a parking problem, right? So that's kind of being addressed also. But today is about our building. Now, what has been done already is that some time ago, James Cross and some of the kids and I, we cut the stage back. We got a little bit more room up here, and we turned it into this radius. And we moved up the front row incrementally. We tucked in the piano. We got about 30 more folding chairs in the back. We recently bought 30 more folding chairs. So we're up to about 200 seats in this place.
20 of them.
We bought 20?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. We bought 20, but we technically added 30, right? Quick quiz. Who noticed that the large speakers are in a different spot? Okay. Colin noticed. So the speakers have been moved approximately, 10 feet further forward, and that allows Colin and the sound team to get more even sound throughout the sanctuary, which allows us to really lower the volume a little bit and have more even volume throughout the sanctuary. So that was an improvement that happened this past week. It was low? It was low.
Nice.
It was nice.
It was nice.
Even
So
throughout.
how was it
Good.
in the back for those who sit in the back?
Well, good job.
Wasn't too
Nice.
bad.
Back row back. Hey, no back jokes.
Thank you, Bill and Colin. Thank you, Bill and Colin.
Yes.
Quick word as we go into it. The structure of this building, from that back wall all the way through to the other side of Fellowship Hall there, is a weird truss system, right? So this is a load-bearing wall, this is a load-bearing wall. Turns out that the one immediately behind Colin there is not really a load-bearing wall. So it's interesting structure. It might not be what you would get. What's that? Interesting? Yeah. It's nothing fell down yet. Tucked over top of Fellowship Hall. You see those big vents back there? There are some rather giant heating and air conditioning machines up there. This is just information for you guys. Now, some people are going to want to think about, what could happen. That's why I'm filling in these details here. Trusses a little bit. Oh, and over top of Fellowship Hall, the trusses are a different shape than the ones over here. That's not simply a drop ceiling. That's the bottom of the structure. So that room is limited at 10 feet tall, unless we did something kind of drastic. And 10 feet tall is also where the vertical wall changes to the ceiling in this room. Okay, so I'm just going to go through a bunch of ideas, and you can shout out interruptions, and I'm going to get through my list, and then if you guys have ideas that you didn't hear, I want you to share them, okay? One thing that we talked about was a balcony, or simply raising the sound booth. It gets a little prohibitive, I would say, because the ceiling in here is 15 feet tall in the middle. So if you raise the sound booth floor or the balcony floor up to 10 feet high, then you've only got 5 feet headroom in the middle.
Only Jim Armstrong and I can work there.
This is humorous to me because we have literally talked about going every direction to get more seats in this room. I mean, literally every direction. Okay, so even a basement was talked about, but that just seems like a really major thing. We talked about reorienting the sanctuary, turning the focal point. So one idea would be to have the stage over here and bust out into that way a little bit. That would get us more seating. It would have some really weird acoustical things going on, and some appearance things. And also, the ceiling height is limited. So you'd have to imagine the ceiling coming down and staying kind of low, unless we got into major remodeling. And also, we talked about cutting to the left and to the right. And we don't really want to mess with that hallway or those classrooms over there, because we lose space that we don't want to lose. And if we went out this way, it would require some pillars and some structural work. But like I said, everything's still on the table, I think. And what was this other one? Another idea on the table is an additional church service. Okay, Vincent said he's willing to do it as far as preaching goes. But we need to take seriously the amount of labor, we could say, the amount of helpers, the additional worship team, or doubling the efforts of our existing worship teams. It's a different kind of complicated to solving the problem that we're changing the facility. Worship team, hospitality ushers, the traffic in the parking lot, childcare. Those are issues that come up with the additional service, but it does solve the parking problem. Yeah. Now here's a little note. When we have a Sunday where we don't need to have the full flow to the room, we could get approximately 40 more seats in here if we filled in 2 more chairs on each row, each side. But that won't work for every Sunday. But perhaps, if we had a big Easter come.
Just keep in mind that the number is 245.
That's what I was going to ask. What is the number here?
That's the capacity for the room, so.
So, yeah, if we did 40 more, that would be our legal capacity for this room, yeah. And if we ever do that, 2 more chairs on each end, it would feel tight. I'm quite sure that it would feel tight, you'd notice it. And there's 2 ways to do it, do it once the room is full, and then follow people in the chairs, usher them in. And it would be kind of annoying to come down the middle and have to scooch all the way down there. But it is what it is. Okay, so just going through my list. I got a long list for us of things just to put on the table. The front interior wall, so behind me, if anybody has the perfect idea for this, sketch it up and share it. But basically, these walls are not really structural walls. They could be changed. I was talking to Barry about one idea where we take about half of these rooms, kind of extend my arm, and then we'd be able to wrap these rows along a little bit. There's a drawback because if you're sitting over there and there's still a wall here, you can't see the screen. So that kind of has its drawbacks. But maybe there is a way to do more church in the round. Are you familiar with that term? Where the pastor and the preacher's in the middle and the people kind of wrap around a lot. So that is a way where maybe we could get some more seats in here, but that would be kind of a drastic rebuild on this end. And honestly, I don't know exactly what would be a good design for that, because the stage gets pretty full already, right? Okay, so the wall behind us, which seemed the most promising to me. So there's a wall behind us that separates us from Fellowship Hall right now. And it would be not very expensive to remove that wall. compared to a lot of these other ideas. I personally think it would be, for the labor of removing the wall, making it pretty again, for that, then that would be $5,000 or less dollars to take that out. And, because that's not structural, that would just be kind of removed and then made pretty, with maybe a column by column, to get those wires down from the attic and add a little support,
So
make it feel better. Yeah.
Are you talking about just knocking out the whole wall to extend
Yeah.
the room? How many more seats would that?
That would get us 60 to 80 seats, which is significant.
That would also increase the legal capacity of the room.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now you have two. Well, what's the legal capacity of the room back in Fellowship Hall? I mean,
Right, we get to add that,
You're
right?
gonna get to add that value.
Well, they look at us all over again.
Right.
It would be something like that, right?
Yeah, I have a question, but it's not for you, it's Sandy. Sandy Cribbin,
What?
out of curiosity, how many people, being that we're dealing with growing pains, how many people were in church today?
Oh, I think it was 129, today was low. I
So
thought
is there
children or
space?
just adults? No, that was the.
You have another from last week?
Last week, I think it was 160 something, 170.
And of course, this needs to be said, that if that wall were to disappear, it would really affect how we do fellowship time. I would not say that we would ever stop doing fellowship time, but it would totally change how things are set out, how things are prepared.
When Bill Winder was here 10 years ago, he suggested being he's a steel contractor, that you do exactly that. You knock out that wall, and then the back wall, you essentially put up a steel frame, which would provide all the load bearing, and simply rebuild the fellowship hall behind where it currently is, so that when you come in, this would all become a worship area, but you'd have actually a bigger fellowship hall right behind it, out where the kids' playground is right now. And that you could leave pretty much this whole infrastructure intact, because the wall back there is a load bearing you're taking out. And you have the load carry with whatever you built out for the rest of the a new fellowship hall, right behind where the current one is. That would leave the kitchen facility intact. You just change the flow, you get rid of where the refrigerator is, and then you come all the way back to go into the fellowship hall, but you still have the kitchen and stuff right across the fellowship hall.
And that is literally the next bullet point here. So we are right on track. And it might really make sense for us to say, we need to be in a season where we're really seeking God's heart on this. And it would be nice if we could have the new fellowship hall before we lose the current fellowship hall, if we go in that direction.
Right.
It would be nice. And that, we don't have figures on that at all. I did some poking around on the internet with steel structures. And I think for something that would meet our needs, we're looking at baseline of $100,000 to put another structure out there. And we should also have the conversation, should it be set apart from this building just a little bit for sound reasons, is what I'm thinking of. And then that, that brings in some daydreaming. Well, if we do have this other square footage, could we do more ministries, and could it be more of a multi-purpose room? Yeah, these are things that we should talk about and pray about. And I just want to note on here, if we do build another room or building, it could have nice hardwood floor, for youth basketball. It could.
For midget basketball.
Yeah. Right. Yes. Yeah, Warren's going to We are not free and clear yet, but it's in our budget, right? So, I didn't exactly hear what you were saying. Can I address
Our
that?
mortgage will be off in the year 2023.
Oh, 2023, the mortgage goes to.
How much is it to get down?
Do you want me to, well, I'm just asking Cindy here. What can we tell about the numbers? Do we know the amount we owe or the monthly amount that goes out? I don't remember what that number is. Sorry, Warren, but yes, we are still
There
paying.
was actually, there was last year, one of the things we were thinking about is doing a pledge drive to pay off the mortgage. I know it's over 100,000, but I don't think it's much over 100,000. When we were discussing it last time, we were thinking there was a way, we were developing a plan that we could pay the mortgage off in 3 years with pledge drive and like restructuring some things, but that never came to fruition. So I know we're at that point, if we wanted to, we could work out a plan to pay it off.
I think one of the things that Lauren just alluded to was, is there room in that for an equity type loan to do some of this stuff? I think that's what
Interesting question. Do we own enough of our building to borrow on it again? Probably. I have my own personal opinions about that. I'd rather pay for it before we do it, or approach that somehow. But that's, I didn't mean to disagree with you at all. I'm just kind of saying my response to it. Because this is a time where I really value everybody's opinion, so I don't need to shut anybody down. Those are the things that I have, so let's do questions and talk about it a little bit.
This is just going back to, when we had two services, because when I first started coming here, we did, I think it was in 2005. Do you have any record of what the numbers were then and how it compares to now? And I'm not really sure why they dropped down to zero, because I remember the other class service here on job. And then we went to one service. But were the numbers much higher then than they are now?
Does that coincide with when Fort Monmouth closed? Is that, or is that?
The numbers went down. And one of the reasons we had two services is because there wasn't enough children's ministry space. There wasn't room for the kids. And then we put the addition on, so there's room for the kids in the classrooms now. That was one of the issues, was that there wasn't space for children.
I'm personally not a fan of two services. I mean, you get on an airplane at 9 and you get on one at 9:30 to reach half full, guess what? They cancel one of the flights and fill the plane up. I mean, it's not worth the resources and the manpower, I don't believe. The other thing is, you know, kicking around the ideas is great, but until we get the parking lot solved, we can't do anything. No use in making a building twice the size if we ain't anywhere for anybody to park. I mean, knock that step out first, and then as far as, you know, a new fellowship hall, if it's not gonna be what you really, really want, if it's just gonna be something we can put there to have a fellowship hall, don't build it. It has to be what we would want going forward. And you gotta remember, look at the size of this fellowship hall. Now you're talking about making this place bigger. How much bigger is the new fellowship hall gonna have to be? So if it's not gonna be what you really need going forward, I mean, right now, personally, I don't think from a fiscal standpoint we can even manage it. I really don't, to build a new fellowship hall. I don't see it happening.
Yeah, and the purpose, one of the purposes of this meeting is to vocalize things like what you're saying, but also begin the conversation so that if we do find ourselves in a situation where it is clear that we should move in the direction of building or changing things, that we have already thought about all these details and done it ahead of time. So that if we do decide to hit the gas pedal on this, we're not gonna like make as many mistakes. Because like you guys had the chance to share our collective wisdom on this. Yeah.
I know that when we built out the first time, when we built and renovated the first time, that was phase 1 of 3. Now, I don't know what the second and third phases are, so I think it's best to refresh our memory because I guess we had an engineer at that time and et cetera, and put a lot of money into those plans. And so where do we stand with that? And refresh our memory what phase 2 and 3 were at that time.
Well, if Vince wants to talk about it, I'll give him the opportunity. What we're talking about today, as far as what I remember about the bigger plan, is maybe a 10% step as far as cost and square footage
Yeah, but
towards the next part.
is that gonna work in concert with a phase two? Or, like, I don't want our 10%, you know, I want that to flow with
Yeah,
what
okay,
the plans are
Do you want
for
to speak
phase
to that?
two. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, we don't wanna.
So phase two was going to be to create a new sanctuary with some classroom spaces out this way.
Right,
And I think it was going to be about $1.2 million. That was about 8 years ago.
okay.
And so what happened is our numbers started to shrink because the fort started to close.
Yeah.
So we lost our momentum on moving from phase one to phase two because we lost a lot of people and also revenue stream. So we stayed kind of where we were after we it was phase one. We had an L-shaped building. We filled that in. We've done that.
Right.
So phase two would be out this way. If we were, as a middle step, to increase space this way, it would not impact that. Phase three would be to come back into the original building and to deal with whatever changes that would help us to suit if it's classroom, if it's recreation, if it's whatever. So phase three, the last phase, would be to come in and redo the original building to better suit what our needs would be at the time that we have more people.
Okay, and how about parking? Like, if we went that way,
Parking is that way.
parking was that way. Was there
You can
any-
see if
was
you
there
go
a-
out.
Was there an entrance here
There
and
was a
an exit
wraparound.
over
Yeah,
There was
right.
originally, in the original plan, it was like a U that was supposed to go around. Where
Right.
those trees are, it was supposed to go
Right.
there.
Okay.
But if you look, when you walk out the door today,
Yeah.
if you look to your right, you'll see we have a ton of room over to the right. That fence that separates us and our neighbors, there's a lot of space over there. So we would obviously, people sometimes now park on the front grass. If we did phase two, that would be gone.
Right.
So our parking is over there.
Right, so if we decide to do this and then go back there for Fellowship Hall, how does that impact the park?
Well, that's what we would have to look at.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're,
What's the fellowship hall arrangement in phase two? Where would the fellowship hall be? To stay what?
I don't remember the original design, whether it was attached to the worship space or not, to be honest. I can't quite remember. I think it stays
So
here.
that was gonna be a new sanctuary?
Yeah, it's actually.
Totally. And this was gonna be reworked somehow?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay.
All right, so does that help?
Yeah. And did you talk about, like, you know, you talked about maybe adding a new fellowship hall that way. Did you talk about, I don't know what the logistics are about putting a new one this way?
A new fellowship hall?
We even talked about it.
You mean a new fellowship hall building?
Yeah.
No,
Maybe down front?
as far as our conversations got, we were just considering the idea of a new fellowship hall. And it could go that way, it could go that way,
Yeah.
and then over here.
Hey, Bill, I have, there's like, three things I want to mention. About the addition, like, phase, here,
Phase
two and three, I think that's like pretty much off the table right now. Money-wise.
$1 million.
Yeah. But what I was thinking, what you mentioned about, I think the easiest way, like temporarily, to increase the sanctuary, another 30 chairs, 40 chairs, whatever. I know you had mentioned, I think